You know him as a racing legend, a Formula One icon.
What's captivating about Senna's story is how it goes way beyond just racing. It all started with a 13-year-old boy and his love for speed.
That homemade kart with the lawnmower engine, talk about humble beginnings.
Right.
And he didn't just tinker around, he secured pole position in his very first race.
It's amazing.
That's got to tell you something about his natural talent, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. That spark that ignited his passion for racing.
Yeah.
Senna himself said, "At first, I did it only for my own sensations. I didn't know anything about racing cars, but I enjoyed pressing the accelerator or the brake, as well as feeling the speed. It was pure exhilaration."
And that exhilaration fueled his rise through the ranks, from becoming the South American karting champion to competing in the World Karting Championship.
Yeah.
He finished as runner-up twice.
Yeah, against some tough competition.
It's clear he wasn't just messing around. This was a young man on a mission.
It's fascinating to see how these early experiences shaped him. Competing against the best in the world, mastering the machine.
Right.
It all laid the groundwork for his future success in Formula One.
So Senna sets his sights on Formula One, honing his skills in the UK racing scene. Formula Ford and Formula 3. He snags back-to-back championships in British Formula Ford and a dominant win in the British Formula 3 Championship. Senna was unstoppable, dominating his competition with a level of skill that seemed almost supernatural. But here's where things get interesting. McLaren comes knocking, offering him a path to Formula One.
Wow. But they wouldn't guarantee him a seat right away.
Oh.
And Senna, knowing his worth and refusing to settle, walks away.
That decision reveals a lot about Senna's character. It wasn't just about reaching Formula One. It was about doing it on his terms.
Right.
About being in control of his destiny.
Wow.
He possessed this level of self-belief that bordered on audacity, and it was that unwavering confidence that would propel him to greatness.
So in 1984, he makes his Formula One debut with Toleman. Now, Toleman wasn't exactly a top-tier team, but even with a less competitive car, Senna started turning heads. It was at the Monaco Grand Prix that year, in torrential rain, that he truly announced his arrival on the world stage.
Imagine this. Treacherous conditions. The track slick with rain. Visibility reduced to mere meters. Most drivers would be struggling just to keep their cars on the track.
Right.
But Senna, in this underdog car, was pushing the limits, maneuvering through the spray with an almost otherworldly skill, nearly pulling off a win against established stars. And he relished those challenging conditions. It's like the rain didn't hinder him, it empowered him. He once said, "When it rains, you risk losing control or hitting someone who loses control. But if you feel you dominate the situation, then it is you who acts upon the events instead of being subjected to them." He saw the rain as an opportunity to showcase his mastery, to separate himself from the pack.
That quote perfectly encapsulates his mindset. It wasn't about luck. It was about control, about bending the race to his will, even in the most unpredictable circumstances.
Even Alain Prost, his future arch-rival, was taken aback by Senna's performance that day.
Yeah.
It was a glimpse of the epic battles that would define their careers.
Speaking of Prost, their first encounter at the Nürburgring for a charity race is quite a tale. Apparently, Senna took it very seriously.
Oh, really?
Even against Prost in what was supposed to be a casual setting.
Wow.
Prost recounts the story with a hint of amusement. He says, "I was asked if I could do the drive from Frankfurt Airport to the Nürburgring. During the journey, we chatted, and I found him very nice and funny. Then we went on the track to warm up the cars. I got pole and Ayrton the second row. After that, he didn't speak to me for the rest of the weekend, and the next day he won the race using some very daring maneuvers against me."
Wow.
Prost realized then that this young driver was a force to be reckoned with. 2 weeks later, Senna was chasing him at Monaco. It was the spark that ignited one of Formula One's most intense rivalries.
After Toleman, Senna moves to Lotus Renault in 1985. He achieves his first Formula One victory at the Portuguese Grand Prix, and not just a win, a dominant one, finishing over a minute ahead of the second-place driver, again in challenging wet conditions.
What's striking is Senna's reaction to this incredible victory. He said, "People think that I had a perfect race that day, but I only made mistakes and even found myself several times with all four wheels in the grass." Yeah. It reveals his relentless pursuit of perfection, this constant self-critique, even in the face of triumph.
He was never satisfied, always pushing for more. During his Lotus years, he racks up an impressive 16 pole positions and 6 victories, firmly establishing himself as a top contender for the championship. But it's his move to McLaren in 1988 that really catapults him into the realm of Formula One legends. And of course, it pits him directly against Alain Prost, setting the stage for one of the most captivating rivalries in sporting history.
The McLaren years were electric. Two titans, teammates, battling it out for supremacy on the track. It wasn't just about skill, it was about personality, about contrasting approaches to racing.
Right.
Senna, with his intensity and almost spiritual connection to the sport, versus Prost, the cool, calculated professor of the track. Their differing styles made for some of the most thrilling and controversial moments in Formula One history.
Their rivalry was further fueled by Honda's admiration for Senna, which played a significant role in his arrival at McLaren. The Japanese engineers were captivated by his raw talent and his relentless work ethic, seeing in him the embodiment of their own pursuit of excellence.
Their rivalry escalated over the years, culminating in two dramatic collisions at the Japanese Grand Prix in 1989 and 1990. Both incidents had significant consequences for the championship, sparking debates about sportsmanship and the ethics of winning that continue to this day.
In 1989, Senna wins the race but is disqualified for cutting a chicane after a collision with Prost. He was furious, accusing FIA President Jean-Marie Balestre of manipulating the results to favor Prost. The controversy only added fuel to the fire of their already intense rivalry.
It was a pivotal moment, leaving Senna feeling robbed of a victory he believed he rightfully earned. The incident further cemented the animosity between the two drivers, setting the stage for a dramatic showdown the following year.
And then in 1990, they collide again at Suzuka. This time, Senna admitted a year later that it was a deliberate act of retaliation for the previous year's incident. He later reflected, "In 1989, I won the race, but they took it away from me. That victory will always be missing from my career. I was prevented from going on the podium by Balestre, although I had won. I will never forget that." As a result of this, there was the race in 1990. The wrong placement of the pole position was not moved by Balestre. I was so frustrated that I swore to myself that if after the start I lost first place, I would try everything at the first corner and that Prost would not pass in front of me. That was the result of stupid decisions taken by politicians. He considered it payback for the injustice he felt he had suffered.
This incident was a turning point. It revealed the depths of their animosity and raised questions about Senna's methods,
Right.
even as it secured his second world championship. This act of calculated aggression painted a picture of a driver willing to go to extremes to achieve victory, a trait that would become central to his legend.
So we have this incredibly gifted driver, a fierce competitor who seemed to operate on a different level, both in his skill and his intensity. But there was also a more profound side to Senna, a side that often gets overshadowed by his on-track battles.
Absolutely. Senna was deeply spiritual, a trait evident in his approach to racing and life. He believed in a higher purpose, a destiny that guided his path. He often spoke of feeling a presence, a force greater than himself, guiding him through the perils of racing. He was also incredibly dedicated to improving safety in Formula One, a passion that stemmed from his own experiences and the inherent dangers of the sport he loved.
He wasn't afraid to speak out about safety concerns, and he was often the first one to aid fellow drivers involved in accidents. He understood the risks they all faced, and he felt a deep responsibility to protect his fellow competitors.
His concern for safety was deeply personal. He had witnessed firsthand the tragic consequences of racing accidents, and it had a profound impact on him. He worked closely with F1 Dr. Sid Watkins to advocate for better safety measures, and he even had plans to revive the Grand Prix Drivers Association to give drivers a stronger voice in safety matters.
Right.
He believed that those who risked their lives on the track deserved a say in the measures taken to protect them.
He was a complex figure, wasn't he? Driven by ambition, yet also deeply compassionate, always striving for excellence, but also willing to put himself on the line for others.
John Watson, a fellow driver, captured this duality perfectly. Senna had authentic charisma, but also displayed astonishing vulnerability. He was also very emotional, but could be ruthless and imperturbable, especially with Prost. He was a paradox all by himself.
And it's this paradox, this blend of brilliance and flaws that makes Senna's story so compelling.
In the next part of our deep dive, we'll delve into the final chapter of Senna's career, his move to Williams in 1994, and the tragic events that unfolded at the San Marino Grand Prix. We'll examine the circumstances surrounding his death, the impact it had on the sport, and the lasting legacy he left behind. As we delve deeper into Ayrton Senna's story, you start to see how his life was a tapestry woven with threads of triumph,
Right.
tragedy, and a constant internal battle between ambition and spirituality.
It's like he had this duality, this
Yeah.
push and pull between the aggression needed to dominate on the track
Right.
and a profound sense of something bigger than himself.
Exactly. And that conflict played out in some of the most controversial moments of his career,
Yeah.
particularly when it came to his rivalry with Prost. Think about the 1990 Japanese Grand Prix. Senna, by his own admission, intentionally crashed into Prost, securing the championship, but sparking a heated debate about what's considered acceptable in the pursuit of victory.
For many, it was a shocking act of retaliation.
Yeah.
A calculated move that crossed the line between fair play and the relentless desire to win.
It forces you to ask,
Yeah.
where do we draw that line? Is there a point where the hunger for victory trumps sportsmanship? It's a question that has haunted Formula One,
Right.
and one that Senna himself grappled with,
Yeah.
especially after the tragic events of the following year.
The 1991 season saw Senna secure his third and final world championship.
Right.
But it was the death of Roland Ratzenberger at Imola in 1994 that truly shook Senna to his core.
Senna was visibly distraught.
Yeah.
He had been one of the first on the scene of the accident,
Oh, wow.
and he later expressed deep concerns about the safety of the cars and the track.
It's almost as if he had a premonition.
Yeah.
A sense that something was terribly wrong. He even carried an Austrian flag in his car, intending to wave it in Ratzenberger's honor if he won the race.
Beneath the steely determination and the ruthless ambition, there's a deep sense of compassion,
Yeah.
a genuine concern for his fellow drivers. That weekend at Imola, he even reached out to Prost, his former rival,
Wow.
something he hadn't done in years.
Two fierce competitors, their rivalry etched into the annals of Formula One history,
Right.
coming together in a moment of shared grief and uncertainty.
Absolutely.
It's a powerful image.
They spoke about safety,
Mm-hmm.
about the direction of the sport, about the shadow that had fallen over their world.
And then in a cruel twist of fate, just a day after, comforting Rubens Barrichello after his crash,
Right.
Senna himself was gone,
Yeah.
killed in that horrific accident at Tamburello.
Senna, this seemingly invincible figure, was suddenly vulnerable, expressing fears about safety, seeking solace in a former rival.
Right.
And then, in a split second, it was all over.
His death sent shockwaves through the world.
Absolutely.
It wasn't just the loss of a champion, it was the loss of an icon, a symbol of passion.
Yeah. His death forced Formula One to confront its demons. It sparked a wave of safety reforms, changes in track design, and a renewed focus on driver protection. It's a tragic legacy,
Right.
but one that has undoubtedly saved lives.
Perhaps the key is in recognizing that Senna, like all of us, was a work in progress. He was driven by a deep-seated desire to win, but he was also capable of profound introspection.
Right.
His rivalry with Prost, while often bitter, also pushed both men to achieve heights they might not have reached on their own.
It was a rivalry that defined a generation of Formula One,
Yeah.
a clash of titans that captivated audiences worldwide.
And while the 1990 Japanese Grand Prix will forever be a stain on Senna's legacy, it's also important to remember his dedication to safety,
Right.
his acts of compassion towards his fellow drivers,
Absolutely.
and the profound impact his death had on improving the sport he loved.
So the question remains,
Correct.
was Ayrton Senna a hero or an anti-hero? It seems the answer isn't so simple, is it?
No, it doesn't.
Perhaps the answer lies not in labeling him one or the other, but in appreciating the full spectrum of his personality. Now, beyond the drama of his racing career and his rivalry with Prost, there's another facet of Senna's legacy that's often overlooked,
Okay.
a facet that reveals a different side to this complex man.
You're talking about his business ventures and philanthropy.
Yeah,
That's right. He had a lot going on outside of Formula One.
you did. Senna had a keen business sense,
Okay.
particularly when it came to the automotive industry. He saw potential where others didn't,
Yeah.
and he wasn't afraid to take risks. He played a key role in establishing Audi in the Brazilian market.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
So he wasn't just a brilliant driver, he was a shrewd businessman as well. It's starting to feel like there was very little this man couldn't do.
And perhaps even more importantly, he was a dedicated philanthropist.
Yeah.
Even before his death, he was actively involved in various charitable causes. And he often spoke of wanting to use his platform and resources to make a positive impact on the world. He believed that success wasn't just about personal achievement. It was about giving back, about using your talents to help those less fortunate.
And that's where the Instituto Ayrton Senna comes in, right?
Yes.
The organization established by his sister, Vivienne, to carry on his legacy of giving back.
Precisely. The Instituto Ayrton Senna has been incredibly successful in providing educational opportunities and social development programs for underprivileged children in Brazil.
Wow.
It's a testament to his enduring impact, a reminder that his legacy lives on not just in the record books of Formula One, but in the lives of countless children who have been given a chance at a brighter future.
It's incredible how, even decades after his passing, Senna's presence is still felt so strongly.
It really is.
It's like his story has become woven into the fabric of Formula One, inspiring not just drivers, but also engineers and designers.
You see it everywhere. Films, documentaries, books, and even a McLaren supercar bearing his name.
Oh, yeah, the McLaren Senna.
And it's not just a marketing tactic. No. The McLaren Senna is designed to embody his values.
That supercar really is a fitting tribute, isn't it?
It is.
It's a technological marvel that pushes the boundaries of what's possible.
Right.
Much like Senna himself did during his time on the track. I was reading about how it's not just about raw power. It's about precision, control, and that almost intuitive connection between driver and machine that Senna was so famous for.
And it speaks to his engineering mindset, too.
Oh, right.
Remember, Senna wasn't just a driver who showed up on race day.
No.
He was deeply involved in the technical aspects of racing, working tirelessly with his engineers to fine-tune his car's performance.
Wow.
He had this uncanny ability to translate what he felt on the track into specific adjustments, pushing his team to innovate and extract every ounce of potential from the machine.
It makes you wonder what he could have achieved with today's technology, doesn't it? The advancements in aerodynamics, engine technology, and data analysis.
Right.
Can you imagine Senna behind the wheel of a modern Formula One car?
Oh, yeah.
Pushing it to its absolute limits.
That's a tantalizing thought. His raw talent, his unwavering focus, combined with the precision and power of a modern Formula One car, it would have been a sight to behold. But even without those advancements, Senna's impact on Formula One is undeniable.
Right.
His driving style, his dramatic overtakes, his fierce rivalries, they all contributed to what many consider Formula One's golden era.
Oh, yeah.
A period of intense competition and unforgettable moments that captured the imagination of fans worldwide.
And his influence extends beyond the track as well.
It does.
Look at drivers like Lewis Hamilton, who grew up idolizing Senna.
Right.
He often cites Senna as a major inspiration, a model of dedication, and that unyielding commitment to excellence that has propelled Hamilton to become one of the most successful drivers in Formula One history.
It's fascinating how Senna's legacy is intertwined with tragedy.
It is.
His death.
Yeah.
Along with Ratzenberger's.
Right.
Forced Formula One to confront its safety issues head on.
It was a wake-up call.
It was.
Leading to a series of safety improvements that have undoubtedly saved countless lives in the years since.
Absolutely.
It's a sobering reminder of the inherent risks of motorsports.
It is.
But it's also a testament to Senna's lasting impact. His death, while a devastating loss for the sport and his fans, served as a catalyst for positive change, making Formula One safer for future generations of drivers. It's a legacy that's both inspiring and bittersweet.
Senna is remembered as a champion, an icon, but also as a symbol of the fragility of life.
Right.
A reminder that even those who seem invincible are still human, still subject to the unpredictable nature of fate. And yet, even in death, his story continues to resonate with us.
It does.
We're drawn to his passion, his intensity, his unwavering pursuit of his dreams.
He reminds us that life is short.
Right.
That we should embrace our passions, push ourselves to be the best versions of ourselves, and live each day with a sense of purpose.
He challenged conventions.
He did.
Pushed boundaries, and ultimately left the world a better place than he found it.
So, after all this unpacking, after exploring the highs and lows, the triumphs and tragedies, the brilliance and the flaws, where do you think Ayrton Senna stands in the pantheon of racing legends?
Without a doubt, he is one of the greatest drivers of all time.
Yeah.
A true icon of Formula One. His skill, his determination, his charisma, they all contributed to his legendary status. And that's the beauty of Senna's legacy. It's a story that transcends the world of racing, speaking to something deeper within us all, That innate desire to push beyond limits,
Right.
to strive for greatness,
Yeah.
and to leave a lasting mark on the world.
Ayrton Senna. A champion, an icon, a legend.
Absolutely.
A complex and flawed human being whose story continues to captivate and inspire us decades after his passing.
And it's a story that will undoubtedly continue to be told and retold for generations to come.